Well, welcome back again. We're working through Messianic prophecy, and hopefully already our time has been formative in how we approach Jesus, that we can't think of Jesus in some shallow or superficial way. He's this hero of old. He's at the center of the epic of redemptive history. And he's this champion who will change the world in the end. And this endeavor to know Christ better and therefore pursue him rightly, it brings us now to another messianic prophecy, Genesis 49, 8 through 12. But before we can get there, we need some context. After all, a lot happens in the space between Genesis 3:15 and Genesis 49, 8 through 12. So there's a lot that we need to get caught up on, and so let's lay some groundwork together. Simply put, the book of Genesis chronicles the tragedy of sin, where mankind is so wicked that even in Genesis 6, verse 5, it records that every intent of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. Or Genesis 7 through 9, where God sends this global flood that just wipes off every person off the face of the earth except for one family. Or Genesis 11, where humanity comes together to rebel against God. Or Genesis 19, where you have daughters getting their father drunk, followed by incest. You're seeing this. Humanity has fallen hard. And if the question is, what will God do? Chapters like Genesis 12, 15, and 17, they begin answering this question, where God enters into a covenant with Abraham, and God tells Abraham that from you will come a great nation, as countless as the sand on the seashore, that you'll live in this special piece of land, and that in them all the families of the earth will be blessed. And within this covenant, the Abrahamic covenant, God says in Genesis 17, verse 6, that kings will come forth from you, that Israel will not only be a royal nation, but that they'll also have this dynasty of kings. And this question of kingship is at the very question and at the very center of Genesis 37 to 50. If I asked you, hey, what's a king supposed to be? Chances are we would answer that question with a king supposed to rule over land and govern a people, enforce laws, protect and serve. It's like we can get that. Give me something more difficult. But Genesis 37 through 50, it has a twist. And that twist reveals something about what it means to be a king. And in one sense, these chapters are kind of familiar. It's the Joseph story. And we know the Joseph story, where Joseph's brothers, they throw him in a pit, they sell him into slavery. Then he's thrown into jail, but God's with him. And eventually, because of God, he's elevated above everyone else in Egypt except for Pharaoh. And if the question is, which of Jacob's sons will bring forth the line of the kings, Joseph is the sensible choice. He's ruling over Egypt. He's protecting and serving his people, enforcing this and that. And even whenever a famine breaks out, even Joseph's brothers have to travel to Egypt and beg for food unbeknownst to them that this is Joseph, their brother. And not only is Joseph ruling like a king, but he's also wise like a king, because when he comes face to face with his brothers, he frames his youngest brother, Benjamin, and says that Benjamin will become his slave. Now, not because Joseph hates Benjamin, but he wants to know, hey, do my brothers, will they treat Benjamin the same way that they treated me? Will they leave Benjamin to die just like they left me to die? And it's at this point now that we come to the twist of the narrative, Genesis 44, verses 30 to 33. And listen to what Judah tells Joseph. So now, when I come to your father, my servant, and the boy is not with us, and his life is bound up in the boy's life, so it will be that when he sees the boy is not with us, he will die. Thus your servants will bring the gray hair of your servant, our father, down to Sheol in sorrow. For your servant became a guarantee for the boy to my father, saying, if I do not bring him back to you, then I shall bear the sin before my father all my days. So now, please let your servant remain instead of the boy as a slave to my Lord, and let the boy go up with his brothers. Judah is standing front and center. And at this moment, a king is born. Judah loves his father. He loves his brother and family so deeply, unconditionally, he's ready to sacrifice everything, to switch places with Benjamin, even if that means he dies. He's ready to bear the sin and shame before his family all the days of his life. This story hasn't really been about Joseph. It's been about Judah. And it's kind of like this surprise. This isn't the Joseph narrative. This has been the Judah narrative. Genesis 38 had portrayed Judah as this guy who's partying and trying to do all these immoral things as a broken person. But God wasn't just with Joseph. He was also with Judah, molding Judah and shaping Judah to turn Judah into someone special. Judah teaches you what it means to be a king, what makes a king, that a king doesn't just live for his people, but that he also dies for his people, that he'll switch places with them and bear their sin and shame. He'll go all the way. That's what a king does. That's Judah, and that's why the line of kings will move through Judah, which also means this: the hero of Genesis 3:15 will come from the tribe of Judah, and he'll be the king in the fullest sense of what it means to be a king. And with this now, the stage is set for the next messianic prophecy, Genesis 49, verses 8 through 12, which we'll cover next time.